I'm Tracy Koga with something short and fun. This is a Hue Soundbite. Well, I think I've waited 2 years now, almost, to have Robyn Priest live here on our set. Welcome to our Hue set. I know you've seen it through Zoom, but now you're in the hot seat, Robyn.
It's exciting. I don't know about being in the hot seat, but it's exciting to be here in person.
I know. And you know what? You've always had so much wisdom and humor when talking about mental health, but November, and here we are halfway through, almost the end of November, and it is Addictions Awareness Month. And, beyond the addiction, it's mental health, and we're heading into the holidays, so it's kind of a heavy month, is it not?
I don't know if I see it as a heavy month, right? I see it as a month where we have this opportunity, where we have the opportunity all the time, but we specialize in some months, but we have the opportunity to have brave conversations with people and actually check in how they're doing, instead of just going, whoa, it's holidays, let's all have a good time. Because for some people it's tougher. Some people are disconnected from their family and maybe want to be connected, or maybe don't want to be connected, and that's still an angst. So I think having those brave conversations and really finding out how people are, instead of those superficial ones that sometimes we have around the holidays.
Oh, most definitely. And let's talk about your company, Live Your Truth, and your title is Nonconformist, which is so true. A co-creator, I guess the mission statement behind all of your work in the company.
Yeah, I won't tell you the dry mission statement, but really what we're about is let's start talking about mental health. Let's break down the stigma and discrimination that goes with it. And all of us that are involved in the company have our own experience or are family members. So I have my own experience of what some would say is a serious mental illness. And I lived this great life. And I've worked out how to do that. I've had great support, and I've had some of the tough conversations. Charlotte, who you'll meet in a bit, like family members. So we come together and go, we want the world to be able to talk about this openly. Mental health for me is inclusive of addictions, because many people who have addictions have kind of mental health things, but then mental health's a continuum, Tracy. It's like, hey, I'm great, everything's good, to, the wheels are falling off.
And that is like the hard part, right? And that's where I really truly believe peer support comes in, that first intervention, if you want to call it, but just to have that knowledge that you're not alone, right? When things slide. And and living with addiction, you're not cured, right? Like there's always that constant battle.
I want to say for some people, yes, and for some people they'll say, no, I've got this. And I think that's the thing we have to think about when we talk about addiction and mental health. Again, there's a continuum of how people look at it and see whether they're still dealing with it and it's this lifelong thing, or whether they feel like they've got it. It just depends on how people want to talk about it.
Okay, well, maybe we should ask then our guests that are going to join us virtually, but I mean, it's been a long time for you to see even some of these people.
Yeah.
So let's open our virtual chat room to Charlotte, Jacob, and Roz. Hello, everybody. Okay, and now you can all unmute yourselves, and you can talk over Robyn. Hi, Roz. It's so nice to see your beautiful face, and I know that we've had very serious conversations about addictions, about mental health, and Robyn was just saying, I asked her the question, you're never cured from an addiction. You're constantly having to, fight the urge, or, and sometimes, you do slide off. But Robyn gave a very interesting perspective that that could be for some, and then, for others, they have really made it. So I'm going to ask Roz, what is your opinion on this question?
Interesting. My opinion, I agree with what Robyn said. I think that I think that if we're able to, or if a person is able to work through some of those things that, you know, cause them to reach for something to change how they feel. Um, for me, there's a lot of trauma or some trauma in my background. And, what I found is that if I'm not, I do have to do things to take care of myself. And it's not so much about I'm fighting this urge or I'm just, like sitting on the edge all of the time, like, wanting to pick up something. But I do have to take care of myself and I have to be able to manage, my emotions as they come up, especially when big things come up. Because when big things come up, and it could be, a big happy thing, or it could be a big painful thing. Um, either of those either of those extremes can, make a substance seem inviting, And what I also know is true is like, for me, crack cocaine, that was my drug of choice. Okay. And if I pick that up, the wheels are gone. There is no bus, there's nothing. Everything, it's over with pretty much. If I pick that up and if I go too far with it. But I also know that, so often, people put down one thing and they pick up something else that's more socially acceptable. And so, I don't do this anymore, but now, I shop, I'm on Amazon every day, or I leave Amazon alone, but oh boy, I love to eat, and I'm just eating everything that is good to me. And so it's just, I think it's about managing the emotions and the stress, because the stress, leads to the overwhelm, and so it's about taking care of ourselves, or about me taking care of myself along the way, like every day. Because if I don't do that, then, it can sneak up on me. And before I realize, I am overwhelmed, just with life. And, I'm reaching for something. And so I don't think that it's so much of a daily struggle, again, not to use, but it is daily maintenance, just to maintain wellness and balance. And if I'm not maintaining balance in my life, then, I can tip.
Well, we wobble, but we don't fall down. Charlotte, Robyn said your title is Peer Support Family Peer Support Momager, and I love that. My question, and it's spilling on this, how important is it not to be an enabler? And maybe I'm speaking from a parent's side, maybe dealing with a child, and how important is it, right, that we should not be an enabler? And maybe you can talk more on what an enabler is.
Oh, thanks for this question, Tracy. And Roz, I just wanted to add, thanks for sharing. I learn a little bit more about my family every time you and I talk. And so just understanding my mom a little bit better. So thank you for that. We did Kirsten and I, who works with us, with Robyn and I in our company, we did a podcast with a panel on and participants on Wednesday around the word enabler. And a couple of moms got really angry when we were asking the question, are you an enabler? And their immediate response is, no, I'm not an enabler. I'm just trying to save my child. And so we started to dig a little deeper, well, what does that saving your child look like? And so then they would answer a little bit more. And then they went, oh, I think I am an enabler. So I don't ever want to say it's a shameful thing, but when we are working with families, we support them to look at how their actions look and if they are enabling. So when you ask the question, Tracy, is enabling a bad thing? It can be, and it can be a means to save a child too, depending on what the parent is thinking at the time. And so I want to be cautious in saying it's always a bad thing. But what happens is when you support your child to start taking ownership of their own life, of their own behaviors, and of their own actions, and support them to look at what they're doing. So in terms of, say, using a substance to numb the pain in their head, which was the case in some of my family members. It wasn't until my family member took a hard look at their lives and what they were doing and why they were doing it. And then, like Roz said, started to look at some different coping strategies that worked to maintain their mental health. That's when I started to see the change in them. But when I was doing that role of, enabling them, well, this is what they have to do because they're hurting, or this is what they have to do to support themselves. That was a hard thing, and it wasn't a good thing for my child's mental health. Anyway, I keep going. I'm getting a little muddled in that.
Well,
I guess, where I go, actually, Tracy, and I'm going to add a little bit. I grew up with two parents who drank. And so I've got some addiction background as a child that I wished that I had understood better when I was a child and a teenager and an adult. And where my head was going with that is often families, sweep it under the rug. They don't want to talk about it. And the child is left questioning, is this my normal life? Or, is there anything wrong? Or why do I feel the way I do? And so for me, having these conversations, with Jacob and Tracy, Robyn and Roz, just for others, for maybe younger children to understand, what's going on at home and to get some supports and help that way.
No, and it's true, and kids these days, they're not dumb.
No.
In fact, they probably know more than we give them credit for. But you're right, Charlotte, though, it's the non-communication, it's the sweeping under the rug, it's like tight-lipped, we don't talk about that, or the brush off. That's where the damage, starts.
It's those brave conversations. We've got to be willing to have them. Like if we want to do any change in the future.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of change, Jacob, ta-da! Oh no, I hope you don't mind being around all of these women, but it's not like we're ganging up on you. Never, never, never.
Okay.
But making change, very interesting. I'm going to give that topic to you, change. And you work with the homeless, working with Main Street Project, an amazing organization too as well. But yourself, your own story, it's all about change. Is it a hard thing to do?
Yes and no. Change is hard to do when you have 20 different people behind you yapping at you, telling you how you should change. And letting yourself realize that not to listen to them, but to listen what you want to do, how you want your life to go, how you want to change, and then doing it. So it's hard, but it's easy, if that makes sense.
Well, and we're in Winnipeg and it's Winterpeg, and my goodness, how much snow fell so quickly. What has it been like on the streets?
It's been crazy, but it's been good. So we've just been working a lot harder than we usually do, handing out more warm materials that we've been squirreling away over the summer, and just trying to keep the community, our friends and family that are living on the streets, warm and safe. It's the best job.
Oh, no doubt. And for yourself too, we had an interesting conversation. You were at one point homeless, and sometimes that is where people want to be, right?
Yeah, the truth is that you can, I can buy 500 homes, and I could offer one to every person that's living on the street in Winnipeg or another small city, but only 75% will take it, because we're humans, and every human has different desires. And yeah, there's some people who enjoy sleeping outside, and I am completely okay with that. I have lots of family and friends that still sleep outside, and it's just, just be there for them.
Wow, continue on doing your work. Well, we're going to get you more into the conversation. So, getting back to addiction, and that, you know, Roz, you can step in on this too. It has obviously become more apparent. We're talking about it more, and how much, I guess, the pandemic and COVID has brought this forth. Am I right, Robyn?
Truth be told, I don't know the statistics. I would think, I do know that around Winnipeg, I think the alcohol sales were up by a mega amount. So maybe not. But I think, I don't know if it's more than it used to be, but I think it's talked about more. I think it's more in the open, so we see it more. Yeah, it's probably gone up. I think food addiction has probably gone up. I certainly know that I was eating things that were like, I'm just going to buy this and this. And I go, no, I'm not going to have it. And I go to the store, I'll be like, yes, come on. And because I was numbing how I was feeling. And I think the place for me is, as we continue with what's occurring, because I don't see it going away anytime quickly, that if we can support people who want to connect with other people, sometimes, as Jacob was saying, sometimes people are like, I don't want to home, I don't want to talk to people, give me space. But like, the more we reach out, and I think I've talked to you about it before, like, instead of just, hi, how are you, the grocery store, and, you know, and you say, not good, and the person's like, okay, let me, goodbye, that was $20. I think if we really engage human to human, and we actually, like, care what's happening, and we start to support people differently, I say the same thing over and over again. I think it's about getting our human back on and caring about our neighbour and caring about our community. And I think we lost that, and I'm kind of hoping that given the shake-up with COVID, we actually do engage more with people than we did before, because we found out how it feels to be isolated and alone. And not be able to see people. Oh, I got goosebumps there. But, you know, I'm hoping the general population really got, it sounds weird, a feel for how it is to not be able to connect. And then maybe that gives them a different perspective when we start to be able to connect more and more and more. I don't know if that answered your question. I think I went off topic, but there you go.
But hey, so Roz, you're listening to Robyn. How are things in Georgia, in the States?
Things in the States of the pandemic, definitely, I mean, there are the statistics, and I don't know them, but I do know that addiction, that setbacks for people who live with addiction, and even, overdose, suicides, all those things are up as a result or since the pandemic. And I think that Robyn is right when we think about that inability to connect. There are some folks who will say that, sobriety or abstinence is not the opposite of addiction, but connection is the opposite of addiction. And that connection and that being able to engage is the thing that we really need, that getting our human on. And it's interesting, and something that I've experienced recently, because the pandemic, hadn't been kind to me. Something that I experienced is people genuinely wanting to connect with me, but then, like, the stigma, there's such a stigma around, addiction and around other mental health concerns. And to admit that you're struggling is a difficult thing for folks to do, to say, hey, I really do need something more than what I'm getting. And sometimes figuring out what that is or what that even looks like, and how do I ask, I think a lot of people get lost right there. Like there's a gap in how do I really ask for the support that I need? How do I let somebody know that I'm struggling just for the fear of judgment or whatever else that might come along with it? And then there just is this kind of cloak of secrecy that comes with with active addiction, and that comes with all of that as well. And it's like, this idea that I can somehow hide it. And so we were talking earlier about sweeping it under the rug, but it's, the proverbial pink elephant. You can't sweep an elephant under the rug, you know what I mean? And so to act like it's not there, and that's what we do. Everybody sees it, everybody knows, but we can't talk about this thing that's just so obvious. And so, the idea of continuing to be able to have the brave conversations, the difficult conversations, it takes some courage. It really takes courage to ask for support. It really takes courage to say, hey, I'm really going through right now, because it's such a vulnerable place to be. So definitely, the pandemic has had a huge impact, and just figuring out ways to, extend ourselves to each other in a way that is safe for people, so that they can ask for what they need, and they can have, we can have the difficult conversations, I think is what's necessary.
Wow.
And let people know it's okay. You know what I mean? Yeah. If you slip up, it's all right. Grab a hold of somebody and come on back. You don't have to just suffer and fall off into the abyss. There are folks, just grab a hand and come back. It really is okay. I think to get that message out there is important.
Oh, well, thanks, Roz. Jacob, I'm curious. How do you have those conversations with the families, your friends, on the streets?
I just talk to people. That's it. I treat people like people. I treat the community, any community, like I've known them for 100 years. And I speak to people exactly how I would talk to my wife, my daughter, my best friend, Robyn, anyone. And it not being fake about things, and just showing people that you do not care what they're doing. You don't care where they're at. None of that matters. And it just helps people realize, oh my goodness, this person really just cares about me. And and when people are ready, they'll come to you. And when they come to you, just be ready to help them achieve what they want to do. It's pretty easy. I hate to say, but as for myself, asking for help, it's no. It's really hard, especially being a heroin addict that's been clean for almost 22 years. It's every day is a struggle still. And I can't always ask for help because there's not people in my life who have the same background as me in regards to being a junkie. So it's day by day.
Wow. Well, when you speak from the heart like that, Jacob, that's I think halfway there anyways, right, Robyn? I mean, to have that understanding and the self-awareness, I guess, is the word I'm looking for. It's pretty powerful, Jacob. And this is the tough conversations that we're all having. Charlotte, I'm going to bring you in here too. Tough conversations as a parent. Having that tough one.
When I was listening to Roz's words about, reaching out and hand and support, and when I'm working with parents, a lot of times it's, when your child's come forward and said, hey, listen, I'm struggling, and this is what it looks like, how do we have those tough conversations without overreacting or trying to fix, save, and solve them, but listening to what they want. And, and hearing Jacob's words, where there's not many who could help me, coming from supporting, say, Jacob's parents, is just having those conversations with them to say, hey, Jacob, I'm hearing you. What can we do to support you, as opposed to thinking that you know all the answers to what he needs. Because as parents, we all think we know what our child needs or what is best for our child, but it's not until we listen to what they want and then support them with what that looks like. Roz talked about, harm reduction or, abstinence. It looks different to everybody what they're wanting. And it's when we can support our child to explore what's going to work for them. That's when I saw the biggest change in my child is when I changed my language, when I was supporting her to make her choices, to make her decisions on what her mental health looked like and what supports that she needs. And I encourage any parent, to ask their child what that looks like and wait for the answer, not assume that you know.
Wow. So, the future. We're almost nearing 2021. What's 2022 going to look like?
Whoa! I think it's it's an ever moving kind of feast. I think I don't know if we know what it's going to look like, but what people like Roz and Jacob and Charlotte and I are going to continue to do is like speak from the heart, speak about our experiences, share that. Jacob said, he doesn't reach out for help because people don't know some of the things. And that's the thing for me about peer support, is being able to chat to someone who's had like similar, not the same, because we all experience things differently, but being able to have that conversation and say, you're not alone. Like, I've had some tough times. These are the kind of things I did to get through it. They may or may not work for you, but like, let's just chat. And like, if 2022 can be the year of non-judgment, and not just in this area, in every area, but if we can come with non-judgment and no agenda when we're like going there to, we're not trying to fix, solve, save, as Charlotte said, that would be my wish for 2022. And that's what Charlotte and I are going to focus on. We're actually just about to start writing a book together called Curious Not Furious Conversations. And about how do we have those tougher conversations. Nobody can steal that title. We've got it copyrighted. But just how do we come without that deer in the headlight, judgment, oh my God, I've got to save you kind of place, and come with empathy and compassion. And I just want people to be passionately curious.
Well, there's another book title. So I'm just going to go around. What would be your wish, Roz, for 2022?
I love the year of non-judgment, and just coming together, a year of connection, that people, that there is a place for everyone, and a person or a group for everyone, yeah, that would be it. That people are able to find a place for themselves, where they can just be who they are.
Awesome. Jacob?
For the next year, I would like to see addictions become more normalized. That's honestly the best thing I can say, because the quicker we normalize it and decriminalize drugs, we're gonna see less of our family members dying, less of our community dying, if there's safe supplies for people. So I'd love to see that. And I would just love to see more people treat people like people, instead of statistics, numbers, or feel sorry for them.
Oh, great. And Charlotte?
One of the stories that comes to mind is I was working with a family, and their child was really struggling, and I was working with the mom and dad, and the dad had an aha moment one day, and he said, "Oh, it's not all just about my child, it's about me too." And where I go with that is, in the family, and whatever family is to you is what family is to Robyn and me. we all have mental health, and that our family has mental health. And when we all start to look at the role each of us plays in our mental health, in our family story, that's when you can see real change within a family. So my hope is that when parents come to me or family members come to me and it's all about the child or it's all about the spouse and they're the ones with all the problems, I'd love for everybody to take a look at themselves and their own mental health. And I think we would see huge change in our families.
Wow. Okay, so we have all our work cut out for everybody here, just to make the world at least a better place. And you know what? Thank you so much, Robyn. I mean, these conversations are always so good, and I'm only hoping that it just spreads. So thank you.
Just love it. Thanks for letting us on. And Charlotte, sorry I put it out there loudly. We're writing that book. We're going to have to now. Anyway, it's always such a pleasure to talk about something I'm completely passionate about.
I know. When you speak from the heart, like all of you have, amazing things will happen. So thank you, Robyn, Charlotte, Jacob. Wonderful to see you, and Roz, as always. And hopefully, yes, we'll see you in 2022.
Thanks, Tracy.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much.